Hello everyone, today we are reviewing book 2 of the Greenbone Saga, Jade War by Fonda Lee. As always, my name is Graham. Welcome to my channel. I have a goal of reading one book a week, and if you're here, thanks for joining. If you're your first time watching, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button before we go on. If you plan on reading or haven't finished Jade City yet, which is the first book of the Greenbone Saga, I highly recommend to click off this video and maybe go check out my review of that one first. I have a spoiler-free / spoiler review for it because we're going to be kind of talking and spoiling a lot of what happened in that book to talk about this one. So that's just a fair warning. Spoilers. I'm going to try to start with this book to be spoiler-free, but there's just... guys, there's just a lot in this book that warms my little heart and makes me excited to talk about it. So hopefully I stay on track and don't go into spoilers right off the bat. But Jade War is just like Jade City, and it follows the Call family. Hilo being the pillar of the Call family. Shay is the weatherman, which is the person who is in charge of finances and like strategy. And also we have Andon, who is the like adopted cousin, and the end of Jade City, he was openly betraying Hilo's trust by saying, I do not want to be a part of the No Peak clan, and that's where it left off. So this book starts off with that in mind. There's other characters as well, like Hilo was married to Wen, and her brothers are the horn, like the muscle of the No Peak clan, and we follow them a little bit, but we're always reading into perspective of the Call family. So I'll be talking about them the most, but I will be mentioning the other ones as well. This book starts off with Andon and Hilo talking. In the first few hundred pages, Andon pretty much, or Hilo pretty much, negotiates with the Mountain Clan, the rival clan that they have, to not attack Andon, and then they send Andon all the way to Espria. If I'm saying that wrong, hey man, I'm just a person. But he's sending him all the way to a different country to live in exile and to go to school, and Andon's very upset about it. So this story is really interesting because one of the main characters already is in a new place, learning a new language, learning a new culture, and finding out that there's people just like him, the Kenkanese, hanging out in that country as well. And it's such a cool... Man, that was such a cool arc. Andon's arc is very awesome. And so much goes on. He's a young kid. He has a little bit of a love story going on. And he also finds out the meaning that he can still do things for the clan even in exile, which is really, really cool. Hilo and Wen in this book are pregnant. And so what's really awesome about this is this book, Jade War, is so much different from the first one because it spans 3 years. And so from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, you've gone through 3 years of life, and you get to see Hilo become a father, which I don't know if it's because I'm a dad or because of how well Fonda Lee wrote Hilo being a father. It was just the most heartwarming thing ever, because on one page, Hilo is a terrible person in the ways of fighting. In this book, you're rooting for this family the whole time, but as far as coming out of it, you're Hilo's a bad guy sometimes because he kills people or is just talking about a lot of stuff, but the way he ever separates his family from his work essentially is just so endearing. How he acts around little kids, you're like, oh, you're such a good dad. You're such a good dad and a murderer. It's crazy. So you get to see Hilo and Wen's relationship grow quite a bit in this book. And then Shay, though what's interesting going on with her is she found someone that she's dating who is a professor, intelligent just like her. His name is Maro, and she really likes him. And so you get to see the story go out between those two as well, which is huge. And it was really cool to be able to see all three of them having huge growing moments in their life and just read about it. And there are just points in this book that make you go, yeah, sweet, I'm so happy for you, to why did you do that, and just scream at the pages. I stopped reading this book a lot, stopped and paused to pace around my house being what just happened? Are you serious? It was like watching a cliffhanger on a TV show, especially like, Game of Thrones had a lot of like, oh, what in the world, you're ending there moments. And so that's what was happening with this book, of just me being like, what is going on? I can't believe that just happened. And it was awesome. I just never felt so good while reading a book, of just being like charmed by Hilo being a dad, to everything but the stuff, to like shock factor of bad things happening to the family, which aren't good, but I was just like, holy crap. And also, the part that made me just squirm in my seat did not involve violence or anything of that nature. It involved just Hilo or Shay sitting in a room full of politicians. The politics in this book are written so well, where I was just enamored by what was going on. You know how you begin reading a trilogy and you read the first book and you're like, cool, I think I have a premise of what the second book's going to be based off the title. So the first one's called Jade City, and you're introduced to Janloon. And so as you read that book, you're like, cool, well, they hate this clan called the Mountain Clan, the Nopi clan does, so Jade War must be about the war between clans. And, well, no, that's just a small part of this book. This book is about politics, heavy politics, about governments wanting the use of Jade and having Janloon control that and the clans control that, and how even though there's like animosity between the clans, they both band together to stop like illegal Jade shipment coming from the city. And it is intense. Like seeing them talk to government officials, I have never like sat there and just been, oh my gosh, like there's a whole entire chapter where I was just like, this is the best chapter in the world. And it was literally just them sitting in a boardroom with like military and politicians talking about Jade and how they manipulate or like change things and how much power they have in the local government to get that done. There's so much backstabbing, but behind the scenes dirty like stuff going on, where it's like, hey, we really hate the mountain, or At is her name. We really hate her. How are we going to get her without breaking Ashido, which is literally just going and attacking her? Well, we're going to talk through politics, and we're going to use politicians and find out who the strongest families are in her clan and get to know them. There's so much politics and like backstabbing that way that it's intense. I was just tensed up the whole time when it came to politics, and it was so good to read. Honestly, you can kind of see where this review is going to go. Like at the end of this, I'm going to be like, this is this many stars, and you can already see that it's going to be great. I love this book. It's fantastic. If you guys did not have plans of reading Jade City, or you have read Jade City and weren't sure to move on, granted, there is some people that shouldn't move on. If you aren't someone that can deal with like grim dark topics, aka like they do describe death pretty well, and there's a lot of violence that's going on. Not as much as the first book, I would say. It's not as graphic as that one because it is more politic heavy, but there is some grotesque like things that happen that are just, if you can't really handle that, I wouldn't recommend continuing on with the series if that's what put you away from Jade City the first time. But man, Jade War is... I gave Jade City like 4.5 stars out of 5. Jade War is so much better. And so that means it's probably going to be, at the end of this, what I'm going to say. But I recommend it. It's awesome. I can't wait to read Jade Legacy. It's going to be amazing. So, guys, I highly recommend it. Watching the Call Family is incredible. There's so many parts that I want to talk about, but those are spoilers. And so as soon as I give you my review, we'll be good. So I enjoyed this book, the politics, the family, everything going on, the romance, the growth of each character. I highly recommend it. I was captivated the whole entire time. Start the Greenbud Saga as soon as you can. So I give Jade War by Fonda Lee 5 out of 5 stars. Big surprise. And it's fantastic. So highly recommend it to anyone who wants to read this series to check it out. That being said, I'm going to talk about some moments that made me just literally like have to pick up my jaw off the floor. There's a part in this book. There is a part where the first jaw-dropping moment that made me be like, what in the world did I just read? is Hilo finds out that his older brother Lan has a child named Nico with his ex-wife. And so Hilo travels across countries to go meet with the ex-wife to meet his nephew because he is a proper call, which means he can be part of the family and take part of the clan. So he goes over there. The wife is kind of like, oh, I hate you, Hilo, and tries to escape, like tries to leave while he's in the country to visit with Nico and her. And so what does Hilo do? Well, he does anything that a reasonable person would do.
He just murders the child's mom and then takes his nephew.
Yeah. Freaking crazy. I have never been like so shocked in my life. I was just like, what did he just do? And so you get to come back, and that happens early on in the book, and like you get to see Hilo raise Nico, Wen and Hilo raise Nico, and they begin to have their other kids too. Roan, I think, and sorry, I have notes somewhere, but there's so many names to remember. And they have a daughter as well later on in the series, and it's just like crazy. It felt like just violence, or like, why did you do this, Hilo? And then at the end, it like closes and ends really well with it, of like Wen is actually the one that put a lot of pressure on Hilo getting the child, because Wen is a Stone Eye, which is someone that doesn't have the ability to use Jade. And since that's really important to Hilo, she wanted to make sure that there was somebody in the family that had it. And so she felt Nico would have it, and that totally ended up being true later on. Which, man, as a parent, the writing of a child was fantastic, of having Wen's and Hilo's son like eat Jade and like swallow it, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's gonna get like sick from it. And then that's how they find out he's a Stone Eye, and you're like, that is a very childlike thing to do. And they wrote the children very well. They don't feel like just like people that are there. They actually just feel like there is a whole like parenting. You can probably hear my kid downstairs talking about kids. He's crying downstairs. There's a whole parenting chapter of what's going on, and it's crazy. I loved it. The other jaw-dropping moment was Shay's arc in standing when she decides to go fight Ott, the pillar of the Mountain Clan. I was standing in my seat that entire chapter, standing, not sitting down. The entire chapter I was reading, it was crazy. I thought she was going to win at first with cutting off the ear, and then she was about to die, and I was like, oh my gosh, Hilo's going to go on a murder spree, and then her life was spared, and I was just like, what in the world just happened? And it just blew my mind on having that, and it ruins her relationship with Morrow. And even with that, Morrow then being targeted by outside clan members or outside gangsters that want to get on the Jade trade was just mind-blowing, because then the car bomb going off and killing Wen's brother and almost killing her and the kids leads on more rampages against outside organizations, and that's what brings Andon in. But then just Shay having to sit there and hear from her ex-lover that he's the reason why that car bomb went off. And then she takes it in her own hands to be able to kill him and kind of go through that depression. Dude, there's just so much going on in this book. Like, this is great writing. I am just shocked. There was just reveal after reveal, and I can't wait to see what Jade Legacy holds, because it's just, I don't even know. Like, the end of this book where it's just Wen ends up killing the person that killed her brother because she wanted vengeance. And that's a whole other scenario where Andon picks up Jade again to save her life. And then the book ends with Andon talking to Hilo, being like, how is everything? And like hearing that Wen is in the hospital, unable to move like half her body, and he has like 3 kids, Hilo on his own. And like he just looks sad, depressed, because like she's been lying to him and Shay's been lying to Hilo. Even though he's like in control and they love him and they're doing their own thing, like they've both lied to Hilo, and so he's just a nervous wreck. And it ends on that note. What is gonna happen? Oh, dude, it's a wild ride. I can't wait to read Jade Legacy. I'm not gonna read it right away. I have a couple of the books I want to read before I get into that, because they're pretty big. But guys, like, you gotta read this series. It's top notch. better than any TV show out there, and I don't even think if they were to make a rendition of this for the screen, adaptation, there you go, for the screen, I don't think it give this book justice. Like, this is a book you have to read. Like, it might, oh man, it's definitely a top 5 book for me. Like I said, 5 out of 5 stars earlier. It's just, I can't believe it. I hope the series ends well. That'd be a bummer if not. But Jade War, the second book in the series, by far one of the best books I've ever read. It's awesome. So I highly recommend this series to anybody who is looking for a fantasy series to get them out of a slump or anything, or just looking for something new. People talk about it all the time, and now I get why. It's incredible. You just have to go through, again, if you're not a fan of violence or things of that topic, I don't recommend it that way. It's just incredible. So I highly recommend it. Guys, I want to talk about this book with like someone like, I don't know. I'm trying to share this with everybody. So just go out there, read this series. You will like it. I promise. It's going to be awesome. So anyways, thank you for watching the channel. As always, my name is Graham. Hit that like, subscribe button so you don't miss me reading another book this next week. It's going to be awesome and a little bit different than fantasy this time. And yeah, thanks for being here. Have a great day. Toodles.